You think you're tired because you've been working, but the truth is you tired because you've been surviving. Smiling through pain, pushing through silence, holding it all together like your life depends on it, because for a while it did. But what if survival ain't your story anymore? What if you just forgot how to live? Nobody tells you how exhausting it is to survive, to be the strong one, the stable one, the one who keeps going no matter what. They don't see the nights you can't sleep because your soul is too loud, the mornings you wake up with tears already forming, the smile you put on like armor, the constant ache in your chest that whispers, is this all there is? You've been breathing but barely, functioning but numb, existing but empty. And somewhere along the way, survival became your identity. You didn't choose that, life forced your hand. But because it shaped you, doesn't mean it has to define you. God never meant for you to stay in the wilderness. You've carried enough, you've proven enough, and you've endured enough. Now it's time to heal, to feel, to live, because survival may have built you, but living is where God wants to meet you. And survival is not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's spiritual. And God speaks to the difference between surviving and truly living. The Bible is full of people who were surviving until they encountered God and stepped into life. Survival mode in the Bible. The Bible gets it. It gets survival mode. I mean, think of Elijah under the tree in 1 Kings 19. A prophet so exhausted and overwhelmed that he asked God to take his life. That's not living, that's surviving. And what did God do? He didn't scold him. He let him rest, then fed him, and then spoke to him in a gentle whisper. That's the God that we serve. The Israelites in the wilderness, they were free from Egypt, but not living in the promised land. For years, they just survived. They was complaining, they was wandering, existing. And I'm sure all of that sounds familiar because we feel like that. Like I'm living and I'm just wandering, I'm just existing. And you can be out of bondage, but not yet walking in freedom. Job in his suffering, he was barely holding on, surviving grief, loss, confusion, silence from God. But in the ashes, Job came to know God more deeply than before. Survival stripped him, but also revealed a deeper truth. My ears had heard of you, but now my eyes have seen you. And that's in Job 42:5. This is what God says about living, not just surviving. In John 10:10, I came that they may have life and have it more abundantly. Jesus didn't die so you could just get by. He came to give life, not just breathing, but thriving. And if your soul feels starved while your body functions, that's not abundance. That's just survival. Abundance doesn't mean excess. It means fullness, depth, purpose, presence. And you could be broke but abundant, tired but alive. Matthew 11:28. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Not earn rest. He said, I will give you rest. Not work for peace. He just said, come. That's all he asks. When survival is all you know, rest feels unsafe, but God's heart is restoration, not performance. In Psalm 23, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He restores my soul. Even when we don't know how to stop, he gently makes us lie down. Why? Because we need it. The shepherd doesn't want his sheep to run until they collapse. He wants to restore, not just rescue. In Ecclesiastes 3, there is a time to heal, a time to weep, a time to build. Survival teaches us to rush. God teaches us seasons. You don't have to bloom every day. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is rest, cry, and let God rebuild. In Luke 10:41-42, Martha, Martha, you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Martha was surviving, busy, anxious, and doing it all. Mary was living, still, she was present and sitting at Jesus' feet. One was doing everything right, the other was simply being with the one who is life itself. And Jesus called that the better choice. And spiritually speaking, this is why surviving feels safer than living. Trauma teaches us that safety is control, but God teaches that true safety is surrender. We learn to hustle for love, approval, and peace. But God says, you are loved because I made you, not because you performed well. And survival tells us you have to do it all. Spiritual truth says, be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10. Survival may have been necessary for a season, but you were not made to live in the wilderness forever. God didn't just save you from something, He saved you for something. Not just out of Egypt, but into the promised land. Not just off the cross, but out of the grave. We tend to separate the sacred from the struggling. We think God meets us in church, in worship, in the living, but God has always met people in their survival. He met Hagar in the wilderness, abandoned, unseen, and cast out. And He gave her a name for Him no one else had used, El Roi, the God who sees me. That means your survival seasons, my phone started doing something. That means your survival seasons aren't invisible. God sees you there. He named you there. He met David in caves before he ever gave him a crown. David was hiding, afraid, and betrayed. Survival wasn't a detour. It was where David learned the presence of God in the dark. He met Jesus in Gethsemane. I always mess that word up. Gethsemane. Whatever. Sweating blood, knowing death was ahead. Even Jesus had a moment of pure survival, crying out, if it be possible, take this cup from me. You're not unspiritual for feeling like you're barely hanging on. Jesus understands survival mode. Gethsemane. Gethsemane. Why am I saying it wrong? I sound like I'm saying it wrong. Now it's going to bother me. Gethsemane. Gethsemane. Okay. Y'all, if I mess up a word, I just get stuck. And I'm like, why? Is it sounding right? Am I saying it right? And I get stuck on that. But let me tell you, the Bible is full of words that have you thinking that way. But you got to just understand what it's saying and just know that. And if you're saying it wrong, you're saying it wrong. My mind be tripping. I'm telling you, I start being like, did I say that right? Okay. God does not despair your survival. He steps into it. He sits with you in it, but He also gently calls you out of it. And this is why survival feels safer than living in a spiritual and psychological way. Let's break that down. When you've been through trauma, disappointments, betrayals, instability, survival becomes your default operating system. The nervous system rewires for defense, hypervigilance, overthinking, bracing for the worst. The soul internalizes a message. I have to be on guard. I have to stay strong. I have to keep moving or everything will fall apart. So even when peace comes, you don't trust it. When love comes, you sabotage it. When God whispers rest, you panic because your body and spirit are conditioned to expect a storm. But God doesn't want to leave you in that conditioned fear. He says things like, be anxious for nothing. Come to me and I will give you rest. Peace I leave with you, not as the world gives. These aren't just commands. They are invitations to heal. And there's a spiritual transition from surviving to living. The transition is not just external, it's deeply internal. It's a spiritual surgery. And it often feels messy when you go through it. It's a lot that goes into spiritual transition. And this is what the shift looks like. It goes from controlling everything to trusting God in uncertainty, from performing for approval to receiving God's love as already yours, from stuffing emotions to weeping at his feet like Mary did, from always doing to simply being in his presence. God does not rush this process. And you have to remember, he restores my soul. Not he replaces it, not he scolds it. He restores it, piece by piece, gently. Some key scriptures that speak to this transition is Psalm 34:18. The Lord is close to the brokenhearted. God is not far from your survival mode. He's closest when you are there. Isaiah 43:19. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do not perceive it. Do you not perceive it? Living again after surviving feels foreign at first. You don't know how, you don't know what to do with it. You may not perceive it right away, but God is doing it. Romans 12:2. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. You've been surviving so long that your mind thinks it's the only way. But transformation starts in your thought patterns. God isn't just freeing you from external battles, he's healing internal wiring. So what does living look like after surviving? Living doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means your soul starts to believe it can exhale again. It means you laugh and don't feel guilty. You rest and don't apologize for it. You cry and don't shame yourself for it. You slow down and still know you're valuable. It means you don't wake up in a panic. You don't brace for disappointment every time something good happens. And you stop measuring your worth by how much pain you can carry. And little by little, peace starts to feel possible. Joy doesn't scare you anymore. And you stop flinching when God says, I want to give you more. You survived, and that's a miracle. But you don't have to stay in survival mode forever. You are safe now. Safe to rest, safe to trust, safe to heal, and safe to live. God didn't just bring you out of the fire. He's teaching you how to walk in the garden again. And if you've forgotten how to rest, if joy feels like a stranger, if you've been waiting for permission to just be, then here it is. You don't have to fight your way through every day. You don't have to earn your right to breathe easy. And you don't have to keep performing strength to be worthy of softness. God is not just the God who brought you through. He's the God who wants to show you what it means to thrive. So take off that armor, loosen the grip, and lay it down. Not because you're weak, but because you are finally safe enough to live. I love that. Until next time, y'all. I'll see y'all later.